Alright guys, today we are going to be drawing Gaddzooks from My Singing Monsters, of course. So Gaddzooks is a triple element ethereal monster found in the Ethereal Workshop and Plasma Islet. It was added on October 11th, 2023 in version 4.1.0. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at our references. Like I always say, if you want to draw something, it always is helpful to have a reference, an example of how you should draw. So I actually have a few here. So this is one, is him asleep. So you can see he's kind of has these little tendril eyes. Those are super cool. And here's him just swinging around. He loves being happy. Here's him as he appears when you discover him. And so this first one, oh, and their mouths, mouths at the top. So he has two eyes, a mouth in the body, and then two tendril mouths. So love the design of this guy. It's cute how the eyes close. And you can see his teeth here. It's almost like a whale, or I'm not even sure how to describe that, his teeth. Of course he has like frog feet. So alongside references, we always want to think about the shapes. So we always start with the most simple aspects. So we're going to be drawing in shapes. So this guy is primarily circles. So a circle for his body, circle on top of these tendrils, very simple tail, and frog feet. So honestly, probably the most complicated thing is just these frog feet and this tail. Everything else you can do very easily with just circles. So I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to go to my drawing pad. Oh, let me grab my keyboard. Keyboard because it allows me to zoom in easily. There we go. Okay. So the essential parts of him are this big circle, that's his body, and two smaller circles. Maybe that one's a little too, actually let me do those. And two circles. And then you just do a few lines for the neck. It doesn't need to be too crazy. I kind of like them having an inward curve there. So I was just like this. And then this. So we already have the basic framework just here. So that's awesome. Let me erase this because we want to have it just accentuating that roundness. And I might have mentioned this before, but it's always worth restating. When you are erasing, make sure that it just accentuates the form. You don't want to, when you erase, you want to erase with purpose. You don't want to just erase something just because you're not happy with it. Because a lot of times I'll be drawing and I won't be happy with what I'm drawing, and I'll keep at it, I'll keep drawing, and then I'm happy with it after I've just tried and I've made it work. You know, in drawing you can make things work. It's not just good or bad. So you can see here, I have, again, this basic framework. Very happy with these lines. You know, they're not perfect. They really aren't. They're not. I could mess with them a little. So I'm pretty happy with this so far. So let's take a look back at our reference. Okay. So let's add his mouth. So his mouth is a quintessential top lip. So this form here, if you get good at it, it'll just work for all lips basically. Now his is a little bit more curvy than most people's mouths. You know, our mouths aren't going to be quite this shape, but it's similar, definitely similar. So, and that shape is just like this. So almost like a mustache. You can think of it as a mustache shape. And hopefully that'll help, because once you draw that sort of mustache shape, then you can just add lines on it to make it look exactly like how it is in the game. So I'm enjoying this. So I like having their mouths open. It just gives it that little extra fun factor. So let's go to our reference with his mouth open. Yeah, so you can see and so this is the shape of his teeth. So it's almost like a mountain upside down. Just a very basic and so you can see how I did not get that quite perfect, but I can just go in and build around the lines and make something that I am happy with. Come back and erase and accentuate the form. So I think that's really cool. So we're just going to fill in the space between his mouth and his bottom lip. So we're just going to have the most simple bottom lip possible. No, we're going to go slightly more complicated just so we can make it look good. So we just connect it there. There we go. Okay. And just these lines help in adding that dimensionality to his lips, this kind of reptilian lips, and it's just going to give that characteristic look, that Gaddzooks look. Small bit of touch up. So we have the lips, and we can go ahead and just do a brief sketch. So his lips are a tad bit smaller than I drew them. So we're going to just kind of add an extra circle here. So that's like his belly. So if you aren't following along, just keep in mind that you can make his body sort of like this shape, like a blob. I don't know how to describe it, like a rock. So it's almost like this, where it's just like wider on the bottom, a little bit smaller on the top. So that was something I didn't account for too much, but just some minor changes, and it's already looking better and good. I'm still very happy with how this is turning out. Okay, so maybe that's too dark. Let me see here. So we're just drawing his belly, just getting. Okay, so it's actually in his teeth. So it's here. So let me erase these. So it's essentially here. And for his belly, you can just start from the bottom, like how I did it. If you saw that, that is going to be the easiest method, I think. And just go back over it in the other way. And yeah. All right, so we are good to, move on to the, let's see, the legs. Yeah, let's just do the legs. So the legs, we start with ovals. Think of it like 2 eggs. And then another line, sort of like the eyes. So if you get good at basically lines like this, it'll be super helpful. Because these connecting lines, it's almost like a pipe or whatever. These connecting lines it's really good to be good at. And then I'm gonna do that and then just draw a frog leg. Hopefully you are familiar. I am familiar because frogs are one of my favorite animals. You know, this works. I'm gonna change it a little because I want it to be a bit more dimensional. You know, this is how it displays in the game. With some of these lines. This is one of the advantages digital has, where you can just easily undo what you did. So I'm fairly happy with this. You know, is it perfect? Far from it, but I think this is worth keeping, is how I describe that. Okay, so add these other lines here. So we need to give him some warts and stuff, and he has these crests. And so this is another shape you can get good at. So it's almost like a leaf. You can give it more curvature. You can even make it like a blade. And so this sort of shape, you can literally just practice over and over. And it's very good to get good at it because you can see that's how these sort of crests, or what we call them, crests, appear on his body in that shape generally. And then he has 3 or 4 of them on each additional mouth. So let's go ahead and add the mouth in. I like just making them as happy as possible. It's just so cute that we have to do it like that. Let me round out this. I'm not happy with that side of the circle. Okay. Yeah, those need to be a bit bigger, so. I'm gonna erase these and just try again. Yeah, sometimes when you're drawing, things look silly, you know? And then only in the final phase do they connect and look less silly. So you can see this guy looks pretty silly right now, but we're gonna add these frills. Frills are what these are called. And it's the same deal. And we're gonna add teeth. So he just has these cartoony teeth. You see these all the time in like Adventure Time or whatever show you watch that has that American cartoon style. You see it everywhere, and it looks all right. Let me see. I'm not happy with how these teeth are turning out. That's a little better. We're gonna just go with that. And he has teeth on the bottom. I'm not gonna do the teeth on the bottom, sorry. I just like the way this looks right now. So I add the sort of tendril things, and then we go in and add the frills. And when you're drawing, just take your time. I'm kind of rushing, and I really do think all my mistakes are just from rushing. If I wasn't rushing, this would look better, and I'd be happier with it. So drawing is I'd say a test of patience, big time, and having patience and diligence to go through and draw everything clearly is going to pay off. So we're going to do the frills at the bottom, a little too small. Let me see here. Whenever you have trouble drawing something, just take it bit by bit. You don't need to rush. Just each small piece, break it down. You can always redraw and refine and make small corrections along the way. Alrighty. So, let me take a look at the picture again. So he has 2 and then 1 frills on the main body. So let's go back here. You can see as soon as we erase that, it just looks so good. You know, it adds that dimensionality where it puts the frills in front of the body, like it's taking up the space that we can't see that body line, and we're forced to kind of imagine it as a circle. But you know, we don't see every single line to know 100% that it's a circle. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe I'm a little crazy here. So we can start doing the finer details. Oh, we need the tail. So I'm going to, you know, I'm gonna cheat a little here. You can't do this on paper. I'm gonna move this so I have enough room for the tail. I'm gonna move them over here because I want to do the tail on the right hand side. I do. if I couldn't move it, I would have just done it on the left-hand side. So again, we have this sort of blade. Yep, I like doing that. I don't even know how to describe it. If you saw what I did at the end of the tail, when you have a tail like that, you just keep extending it just a little bit more, and it adds a really nice kind of flair to it. Love that, love that, love that. So it's a little pro tip. And so he has 1 and 2, and then sort of crest here. We can add more. Just like that. And we just need to add these sort of bumps to him, just giving that texture that really brings home that this is a Gadzook, because you see it's like a frog. So those are really easy. You're almost just drawing like a circle, just like a lazy circle. Just think of it like a lazy circle. I like that a lot. But then here, they're a bit sharper on his body. It's almost like scales, you know. So they're bumps or warts on his leg, but then there's scales on his body. So just keep that in mind, because yeah, stuff like that is going to really make our character pop. And of course we need the eyes. I should have drawn those earlier. I do apologize. I gotta erase these a little bit just to make room. Okay. His eyes have these things around them. So I'm going to cheat a little and just go inside for that one. And when you're drawing eyes, just look how I'm drawing. So you just draw like the reflection of light, and you don't even need to fill it in, because when you fill it in, it actually looks less real. I don't know why, but it's just the way it is. So you have that reflection, and then just kind of fill it in, and gonna put the finishing touches. Yeah, don't be afraid to kind of have some rough lines. You can always go back and smooth them over, but when I have rough lines, honestly, I wind up liking them more than the smooth lines. So you can see a lot of this guy is just a pretty rough line. It's not super clean, so and you can see how I'm kind of actually going to be tracing around these sort of wrapped parts. They're almost like bandages. And tracing it just kind of gives that depth that I think they're kind of going for giving the limbs depth and then giving some depth to the tail. Trying to get the areas between these frills. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect them like this and then erase the line. I think that's a really good way of doing it. So again, it's not perfect. I'm going to erase this. Here's body lines. You know, he is tough to draw, but I am pretty happy with how he's looking here. So, you know, extra texture is going to just go a long way. Adding these sort of warts and the scales. You can kind of just go all out with them. Keep working with the shapes, because now that we have the basic shape, then we can just add texture and it's just going to look really good. If we have just some minimal lines that complement the pre-existing shape. So for example, like the balls at the tip of their toes, you know, it just makes them look more like a frog. The lines on the webbing just make them look, accentuate the webbing on the feet, and just adding some width to the line of the legs, because those are obviously an important part of the monster, just those big legs. And one thing we can do is just add some shadows at the bottom, so just some simple shadows. So this is just like for presentation. You don't need to do this. This is just something I like to do. So I don't even know if it looks better with the shadows. Maybe you can write in the comments. Write in the comments if you think the shadows help it. I actually don't. I'm gonna erase these. I actually didn't like the shadows at all. Yeah, because, you know, we'll just draw a basic shadow here like this. No, I still don't like this. Sorry. Alright, I'm pretty happy with this. I mean, it is such a complicated character. You can see how he went step by step. Let's add some small stuff, you know, adding stuff like this. You see these musical notes. They just help just put some life into our drawing and just make it seem like he's having fun. And man, it is such a cool monster that we want to just make sure that we give him some extra spice and there we go. I'm done with this. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.